Reactions have continued to trail the death of the former chairman of the People's Democratic Party and Nigeria's former Minister of Agriculture, Audu Ogbeh, who died at the age of 78. The governor of Benue State, Hassan Salia, has expressed regrets over the death of the former lawmaker, Audu Ogbeh, who was elected into the Benue State House of Assembly on the platform of the National Party of Nigeria in 1979, where he was the deputy speaker. He said as a politician, the former federal minister lived a successful and fulfilled life and was greatly respected and admired by many, adding that his legacies will always be remembered. He praised to God to grant his immediate family, the Idoma nation, the entire people of Benue State, and Nigeria as a whole, the fortitude to bear this great loss, and to also grant the soul of Mr. Ogbeh eternal rest. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has condoled with Audu Ogbeh's family, government and people of Benue State over the deaths of the former minister. The president, in a statement by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, described Mr. Ogbeh as a patriot whose wisdom, dedication and pursuit of progress left an indelible mark on Nigeria's political landscape, adding that he was always ready with facts and figures to back his propositions. President Tinubu said the nation will miss his insightful perspectives and wealth of experience, praying for the repose of his soul and for God's comfort upon his family. Also, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Audu Ogbeh, says the passing of the elder statesman is a monumental loss to the nation. According to Senator Ogbeh, the late Audu Ogbeh lived a life of total service to Benue State and Nigeria as a whole, saying his vast experience, knowledge, national and international reach would be missed. The SGF in a statement said Audu Ogbeh was a voice of reason as a politician and chairman of the People's Democratic Party from 2001 until January 2005, adding that he left his mark as a Minister of Agriculture and Food Security. Also, former President of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, has described the late minister as a peace-loving, unassuming, committed patriot and a firm believer in democracy and participatory governance. The former president, in a statement by his special assistant on media, Kehinde Akinyemi, further stressed that the former PDP leader was a man whose political career stretched from the military era through the present democratic dispensation. He said Audu Ogbeh will be missed for his unwavering commitment to politics, governance and democracy, as he made significant contributions to the re-establishment of democracy in Nigeria. Well, let's talk about the life and times of Audu Ogbeh. Joining me is public affairs analyst Femi Lawson. Good to have you join us at this time, Mr. Lawson. Mr. Ogbeh had quite a time in public service. What would you say he would be remembered for?
Good evening, Bosco. Chief Audu Ogbeh lived, even though at 78, a very impactful life. And unlike what is typical of the average Nigerian politician, as far as the public record is concerned, Chief Audu Ogbeh lived a life not just of service, he lived a life of impact, not just as a politician, but as an intellectual, as an entrepreneur, and as one who, during his life and time, made significant impact whenever he was called to service, as a young member of the very, nascent Benue State of Assembly, to becoming a minister under the Shehu Shagari administration, to be part of very, very critical national committees, reform conferences, becoming, national chairman of the major political party, the dominant political party, the PDP, becoming Minister of Agriculture, an elder statesman by all standards. Chief Audu Ogbeh lived a life that is, that cannot just be overlooked. Beyond the regular tribute and eulogy paid to Nigerian political actors whenever they depart. I think Chief Audu Ogbeh has a place in our history, not just as a politician, even though most people within this generation would have known Chief Audu Ogbeh as, a former national chairman of the PDP and a former minister of agriculture. But the truth is that the life and time of Chief Audu Ogbeh transcend this current republic to the impact, the role he played in the previous republics, especially as not just a politician, as an author, as a teacher, as an agriculturalist, as an entrepreneur. And that is why his departure is significant. And I want to sincerely appreciate the fact that President Bola Tinubu also acknowledges this fact and has paid that glowing tribute to the departed, late elder statesman.
Now, Audu Ogbeh wore many hats, and just as you've alluded to also, we've seen condolences pouring in from different quarters, different political divides, as it were. How much some of these, legacies, that you have spoken about, the impact that he made, on our nation, how might they be carried on? How might they be remembered?
Chief Audu Ogbeh will be remembered for his principles, for his commitment, for his discipline. This was a man who, one of the persons who have paid glowing tribute to his departure today, practically went to his home, had lunch with him, and of course, about a few hours later, announced his sack as a member of the national party, as a national chairman, rather, of his political party, while he was the chairman of the PDP. This was a man who never struggled to remain in power at any given time. Even while he was the national chairman, while there were no cogent reason for his removal, he got removed by somebody who had lunch in his house. And of course, because of his principled position about party administration and governance, I mean, while he was the chairman, national chairman of the PDP, the then president had lunch with him according to records. And of course, a few hours later, his removal as the national chairman was announced. If he were to be one of these compromising characters in Nigerian politics of today, of course, he would have gone to the Aso Rock Villa to prostrate, possibly appeal to retain that position, remain in the position. Today we have an acting chairman in one of the major political parties in Nigeria who have remained an acting chairman, despite the fact that they were laid down procedures for who should occupy that position because they just want to remain there. Chief Audu Ogbeh was principled enough to the extent that while he was forced to resign as the national chairman of his party, he didn't hesitate. And he never, had a second thought. He did that honorably, and he went back to his business. And this is a lesson for the average Nigerian politician that irrespective of whatever political position of power, you must have a second address. Chief Audu Ogbeh easily retired and returned back to his farming business and a thriving business for that matter. And of course, he moved on.
All right, then, a lot is already being said about him. And do you think or do you suppose that there would be some form of national recognition, for him following his demise? If you could respond to that in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you. Benue State has a very remarkable record of acknowledging their heroes past. Universities, tertiary institutions, public infrastructures have been named, after so many persons who have served from Benue State in the past. But for Chief Audu Ogbeh didn't just serve as a Benue citizen. He has served Nigeria not as a national chairman of a major political party, but as a very prominent member of Federal Executive Council, as a very prominent member of institutions that have tried to reform Nigeria. And I want to believe that the Nigerian nation, particularly the administration of President Bola Tinubu, will see the need to immortalize this very principled patriotic politician that Benue State gave to Nigeria in the person of Chief Audu Ogbeh as time goes on.
public affairs analyst Femi Lawson. Thank you very much for sharing with us on the life and time of Audu Ogbeh. Thank you.
Thank you, Boss Eddie.